Hello, and welcome to the nephrology rotation at the VA Loma Linda. My name is Enrica Fung, and I'm the Chief of Nephrology. The purpose of this video is a brief orientation to our services. Feel free to reach out to anyone in our section, including our administrative assistant, Ms. Leslie Christopher, to the fellows, or any of the other faculty. This is not meant to cover everything, and all the material we discuss here are included in the orientation packet that is sent out by Ms. Debbie Johnson at the beginning of the rotation. Should you not receive this prior to the rotation, please reach out to her or another faculty so you will have the material for your review. You will also be receiving the schedule of all the services from Ms. Debbie Johnson. We hope that you enjoy your rotation with us. To start with, you are expected to be in the hospital from 8 to 5 p.m. and potentially some weekends. Our office is located on the fourth floor. It's across from the hospice section and from the dialysis unit, which is on the fourth floor. For your outpatient clinic, there are a few ways that you can pull up your patients. You should be able to find out which days you're going to be in clinic by using the schedule that is provided to you by Ms. Debbie Johnson. So if you know the clinic name, which you can find out from your attending, you can just type in after selecting clinic up here in the radio button and type in the clinic name. So I'm just going to use one of the clinics as an example. Turns out to actually be my clinic and all the patients we listed here. And just make sure that for the date down here that you have the appointments that are listed for today. An alternative is to type in the last initial and last four of the social security number under the box where it says patient, right there where the cursor is. So when seeing the patients in an outpatient setting, if you directly selected the patient by using the clinic option, the correct encounter should probably already be listed up here in the encounters box. If you selected the patient using a different method, such as entering the last initial and the last four of the social security number, you may need to click on this box and look for the actual appointment day, correct day and time of the appointment. Select this under the clinic appointments tab up here and then click OK. You should do this before starting any notes for your outpatient encounter. For your information as well too, up here in this box where it displays the name, and if you click on this box, it will tell you the patient's address as well as correct phone numbers. This is of course very useful if you're trying to call the patient for any reason. It also has any emergency contacts listed here as well too. And this box here to the right of the encounter box, this usually contains information if you click on it, or any of the primary care doctor, or for inpatients, it contains information about the primary team. For the nephrology visit, it's very important to review the vital signs before the visit. So if you click anywhere in this vital box, it will bring up the menu that contains the patient's vital signs. The most recent vital sign is always listed on the right side. On this left side of screen here where it has the date ranges, it is often very helpful to change the date range, for instance, to results or maybe to the last 2 years or so. So you can look at a trend in vital signs. So for example, right now on this left sided menu here, you can see that pulse is selected here. But if you click on any of these other options, such as the weight or the blood pressure, you actually see that up here, this information is displayed in graphic form. And this is very helpful if you're trying to, for instance, track weight over time to see if the patient has had any actual weight gain or weight loss, or perhaps a weight gain and weight loss due to fluid gain or fluid loss. So once you've reviewed all the vitals, including things such as their orthostatics, you are ready to review the chart. You should always look at the patient's medication list, which is under the medication tab down here, and you should review them and make sure that the patient are on appropriate medicines and if they need any refills. When you're ready to review the medical notes, you can click on the notes under here on the bottom tab. And there are a couple of ways that you can review old notes. One way that some people do is that they go to right click on this area in the notes. You can go to custom view and you can simply search for any notes that contain the name nephro in the title. Another way is to again use this click menu, go to custom view and select group by under here, location. And most of the time, if you use this method, the computer would automatically sort by the name of the clinic, and you should be able to pretty quickly find the relevant nephrology visits using this manual. Once you're ready to begin your own note, what you can do is you can use the template. So go to new note down here. You want to be using Med Nephro Progress Note most of the time, unless you're doing a new consult, which in this case, you will select Med Nephro Consult. For you, you would need to select the cosigner, so which is whoever the attending is for the day. Once you start the note, if you prefer to use a template, you can go to this place here where it says template, open it up, go to shared, then find medicine service. Open it up. The next, find nephrology section. And this actually contains both inpatient and outpatient notes. For today, we'll use the outpatient note. And usually the template that I tend to use is the renal clinic note. For other purposes, since I'm here already, um, for inpatient, your inpatient consult template for any new patients is also under here as well too. So you'll fill it out as you're instructed and call up the patient, see the patient, staff the patient with the attending, review the medications. Laboratories, of course, very important to review in nephrology. There are a number of different ways in case you're not familiar with the VA system. The easiest way is to go under the lab tab under here. You can go to worksheet and there are ways that you can set up these test group. But if you don't have this set up, what you can do is you can just type in the type of labs that you wanted here, click add, and then click OK. And you can go to search for all results. And if the patient has any results, you should be able to see all the results from all the prior years listed under here. Of course, you can select any other labs that you want as well too. If you ever want to copy any of the previous defined groups, you can always try to copy it from one of the other providers. You can ask your attendings for further details. There's also a function to graph out the lab results as well too. A lot of trainees also find it useful to be able to copy the copy of the lab results into their note. So the way to do that is go to the report tab under here on the bottom, and under this house summary column, there's a part if you scroll down called nephrology here, where you can actually copy and paste the renal labs. So you can click copy and you can paste the labs into here in case they're not already copied into your note. Renal tab also offers similar lab values compared to the nephrology tabs. So when you're done with the visit, it's very important before you send the patient back to the lobby to put in what they call an RTC, or return to clinic visit order. This allows for the medical assistants to schedule an appointment with the veteran. So if you click on the RTC order here, you can select the time frame at which the attending and you decided to see the patient back. I usually do click on here to say that the patient requires non-fasting labs before the appointment. And of course, you can check also any other recommendations you have prior to their appointment back with you. You should double check the clinic name up here, but usually if you selected the correct clinic prior to beginning the visit, this should be defaulting to the clinic that you're seeing the patient in, and this usually does not change. Click on accept the order and sign the order like you normally would prior to proceeding with sending the patient to the lobby. I will also quickly show you how you can refill some of the medications if you need to. Under the medication tab down here, if you right click on any of the medicines and click on renew or change, you should be able to sign for the patient order again if you click on accept order and sign the order. You should also check with your attendings, because some attendings may also prefer you to do other functions, including ordering labs for the future visit with the patient. If you need to perform this function, you can click on orders, click on laboratory, and you can select the appropriate lab and the appropriate testing time frame and sign the order as appropriate. Or you can enter in your access and verify codes, which are the same codes that you would use to access CPRS. Usually, if you are accessing this menu for the first time, you'll see a menu that looks like this in the beginning. And the way to start off from the beginning is that there is this menu called the console tracking menu right here. So the way to access it if you're on the screen is to press enter one time and then press CPR, enter. You will see that in the next screen there is a option for console tracking reports, or CON2. So press that. Next, you wanted to look for service consoles pending resolution, which is PC. And then you can just type in NEPH, which is nephrology for short. And the only option that you will use here is the option number that corresponds to the med nephrology inpatient consult. In this case, is option 4. And you don't need to select any dates here. So when you see the prompt that says all dates, you can just press enter. And any of the pending consultations should be pulled up on this list. So if you see after you see this list, you should look at the chart and look at the reason for the consultation. For example, in the case of this test patient, If you click under consoles under here, open consults, open this, you will be able to see the reason for the consultation. Because this is a test patient, the only reason for a request was the test patient. You should, of course, also communicate with the inpatient team to clarify the reason for consultation. Usually for the consultation service that the students and residents participate in, you are usually not responsible for seeing any patients that have established end-stage kidney disease, including peritoneal dialysis or hemodialysis patients. You are, however, responsible for seeing any transplant patients or seeing patients that you may be evaluating for possible dialysis. But of course, as usual, if you have concerns or if there are any consults that seems like it's very urgent, please do not hesitate to reach out to any of the attendings or the fellow to discuss whether the case should be discussed more urgently while rather than waiting for formal rounds to take place. Inpatient notes and consults are generated in a similar manner. The only difference is that you do need to create a new encounter for every visit for inpatients before you start the note. So you click on this box up here, click on New Visit, and the correct inpatient note type is, location type is LL/nephro/IMPAT for inpatient. Make sure that you select the correct day and time, which is now, and click on OK. You will then proceed with generating the note similar to the instructions I provided earlier. If this happens to be a brand new consult that you're seeing for the first time, you can select this note type, which is called Med Nephro Consult. And under here, you will see that there is an option to select the Med Nephro Inpatient Consult. And doing this will allow you to close out the new patient consult. In terms of the actual note, you'll proceed exactly the same way as you would do for a follow-up note, but of course, you usually would provide more details on the history and physical exam compared to a follow-up note. The other thing to note is that anytime after you're signing the note, you may be prompted to ask by the computer program whether or not you are the primary provider for the encounter. For any trainees, you should always select no for this option, and usually it's sufficient to simply select no to allow for the attending to close the encounter. However, if you prefer, you can always go to this option called Select Primary, and you can select whoever your attending is for the encounter prior to signing the note. So the previous method that I've shown you only allows you to see the vitals that are taken for outpatient or in the emergency room. In order to see any vital signs that are taken while the patient is inpatient, either in the ICU on the floor, you need to use a different system called the ICA or ICCA. The easiest way to access it is to go to the menu Tools, go to Specialty Applications, and go to this option called Philips ICCA REVH. Once you use this option, you can enter in your PIN for your IV badge. Click yes to open up the option for any certificates that you are viewing. It takes a little bit, but you can click through these security screens. And you will see that you're in when it says IntelliSpace Critical Care and Anesthesia, which is what ICA stands for. In this screen, your login and verify code is just the same code that you use to access CPRS. If this pops up needing to select a certificate, just select again the name of your PIV and click OK. And after this, you should be able to access the system for any inpatient vital signs. For the purposes of privacy, I'm not going to show you any specific patients, but you can click on the wards. You can see any patients that are in each specific ward. Please ask your attendings for any details regarding this system. There are a couple of different ways you can page other people. So the method that I would recommend if you already know the name of the person you're going to page is simply to type in the person's name up here in the phone directory. And by the way, the page I'm on currently is the internal homepage, which is vaww.lomalinda.va.gov. So you can usually just type in someone's last name or part of their last name and part of their first name, click search, and you can just click on send page. The advantage to paging people this way is that one, you can select a way that you can be notified either through email or through pager. I recommend pager that the person has received page. It also allows you for the person to send you back a two-way message. And of course, you can just type in whatever message you need and click submit. The other method that you can also use if you're not sure which person is on what department is to use this book on-call provider schedule. The disadvantage of paging directly from here is that this does not allow two-way paging. But if you click on-call up here, you can go to whatever department you need, for instance, the hospice service or the MICU service, and you can see whoever is on call and who to page. If you go under calendar view, you would see the schedule for the entire month. And as an example, the rotation that all of you guys are on is the nephrology non-dialysis day rotation. And you will see which attending or fellows are listed under the day call. It's a good idea to verify this schedule, which should match up with the schedule that you're provided with. To access the inpatient consultation list, you use the Microsoft Teams application. Once you open up the Microsoft Teams application, you can click on the left side column here where it says Teams, and you should see some of your available teams here. One of the options that's available here should be something called nephrology. If you open this up, you will see an option called Acute Non-Dialysis Whiteboard. If you don't have access to this, please talk to the fellow or to one of the attendings and we can add you onto the list for access. So once you're on this screen, you can click up top here under File. You'll see two files that are available. The first file is the orientation booklet, which you should have also received via email. And the second file is the acute team sign out. You can open this file by either just directly clicking on this, which will open the file via the application, or you can click on this ellipse here, the three dots here, and go to open and open the file in the application. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to edit the file if you open it in the app. Either way, when you open up the file, you should see something similar to this, where there are these tabs down here, that is sorted by month, and there's also a empty template. If you're starting off in a new month, you may have to copy a new sheet and start off a new month in a new template. Because I cannot show you the sensitive patient information from here, I created a sample document just for you to see what this may look like. So for any given month, there will be information like this for the active patient list. So the important things to know here are that we're highlighting the active patients in yellow here, and these are patients that we're actively following but not on dialysis. And in green are patients that we're actively following, in which we have started the patient on acute dialysis during hospitalization. So you're still responsible for covering these patients if we are starting dialysis as a new modality while they're in the hospital, but just not established ESRD patients. So in this example, for example, you can see that there is a patient here who has a deceased donor kidney transplant DDKT. There's a patient who has recovered AKI that we consulted earlier in the month, but you can see we've whited it out because this patient is no longer active. We also put a no here for active, so you can update the list as appropriate. And this last patient, he was started on dialysis due to cardiogenic shock. Okay, and when you sign off on the patient, you can put the date down here, and if there is a discharge plan or if the outpatient nephrologist is known, you can update the list. And you should also be in contact with our program assistant, Ms. Leslie Christopher, or the case manager, Ms. Bernadette Florencio, for any urgent follow-ups. For new follow-ups, if you've never seen the patient in the outpatient clinic before, the inpatient team is required to put in a new outpatient request so that we can see the patient, follow the patient in clinic. But for your inpatient purposes, just so you understand how this works, you can actually sort the list by only, for example, for your daily rounding, you only, if you want to only see the active patients, you can just click this filter here so that you can just see the active patients. And then you can always clear the filter so that you can see everyone again. And similarly, you can also sort by the color. If you only want to see the yellow ones or the green ones, you can do so, and you can always clear the filter, like I said. We usually don't delete the patients off the list, usually just leave them on the list, and just update the list as appropriate with any new information, and provide with a history. There's a fellow on service. They're usually responsible for distributing the patients, and then again, if you're not sure, please feel free, of course, to reach out to the attending. And again, keep in mind that if you get any new consultations, of course, you should update the list by adding the patient to this active list. And if any of them seem to be urgent, please do wait till rounds. Please feel free to reach out to us earlier so that we can discuss these patients more urgently. A couple of other housekeeping items of note. Your nephrology office space is 4B47. So this is usually used as the rounding room. Your PIV badge should give you access to it, and all the other staff should have badges next to it. So in case you get locked out, you can ask any of us to let you back in. Even non-nephrology staff can. If there are any students on the rotation, please encourage them to participate. At present, most of the time, we're not asking students to write physical notes in Z-Paras, although this may be changing. It is important for students who are participating to be encouraged to come up with their own independent plan and to write notes for their learning. There are some online resources that are provided in the nephrology rotation orientation package. Some of conferences to note, I think most of you already know about the medical service grand rounds, and the noon conference, which residents are required to attend. In terms of nephrology conferences, which you are strongly encouraged to attend during your time, there is a nephrology conference that is pretty much every Thursday evening from 4:30 to 5:30. It used to be held in person at the University Medical Center in room 1584, which is near the lobby level amphitheater. Since the pandemic, it has pretty much been moved to a Zoom format. I provided the link here as well. And as we discussed, this is also an orientation package. Every other Friday, there's usually also a research conference and our journal club. It's usually from 1 to 2:30 or so, and it's the same link as the nephrology conference. Please confirm with your attending or fellow while you're on service to determine when those are being held. And of course, there are a lot of informal lectures and conferences that are being held as well too. And I would also encourage any of you, all of you, to think about giving an informal lecture to us. This is a good way to learn. There is a reading assignment currently for the rotation. The idea behind this is for you to have study some formal written material because you may not encounter all the material necessary for success in nephrology. The recommended textbook is the Harrison's Principle for Internal Medicine. And in the orientation package, you will find the direct links to the textbooks as well as the chapters that you're required to read. We do ask that you write a very short, succinct summary, and you can see the different formats that you can choose from. You just need to choose one of the three. And at the end of your rotation, you're asked to submit this um, in electronic format um, to either your own attending for the rotation or to whoever is giving you the final evaluation. So these are all the chapters that are listed here. And the vacations, if any, or if you're going to be off, please coordinate it with the internal medicine residency office. And just to provide you with everybody in the section, all the phone numbers are listed here, as well as any of the cell phones are also listed in the internal directory. Um, some important people for you to know, again, Miss Leslie Christopher is the program assistant. We also have the social workers, Ramel and Ruth listed here. Ms. Faye Torres and Ms. Elizabeth Chang work in transplant, so if there are any specific questions for kidney transplant patients, they are a good resource for any follow-up items that are needed. At the end of the rotation, one of the important things is we want to make sure that you are provided feedback as well as to allow you to give us feedback as well. I had also included on here some instructions if you have erroneously mistakenly signed any notes and they need to be deleted, what to do. Please do make sure that you clean out your inboxes and sign any notes on a regular basis. And finally, I also want to let you know that if you wanted to have any additional hemodialysis or peritoneal dialysis experience, you're welcome to reach out to any of the staff anytime. I hope you enjoy this rotation and please share any feedback you have with us. Thank you.